Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Inner Circle. We're talking about men's watches by Chanel today, which might come out of the left field, but believe me, Chanel has an end game in high horology. The Wertheimer brothers are big time collectors themselves. They have a stake in F.B. Jean. They have a stake in Romain Gaultier, which we will touch upon when I talk about this watch. They have a stake in Bell and Ross, among others. They have their own manufacturer for watch cases and crystals, which gave them their own icon in a certain sense in J12. Um, the ceramic case material has especially been a signature and a certain focus for Chanel for some time, and it will come up in this presentation as well. They also have a minority stake in Kenisi, which is the movement manufacturer that is now based in Tudor's new facilities and makes movements for Tudor, Norqain, Chanel, Breitling, among others. They are certainly working on something special behind the scenes for quite some time. And the Monsieur de Chanel has, I think, in an important sense, asserted itself as a special watch, even though it is still quite a niche piece. 42 millimeters in case diameter. The piece was first introduced in various precious metals, including Chanel's proprietary alloy of a pale yellow gold, or pale gold, I should say, called beige gold. Later on, more luxurious versions were introduced in platinum with camphor enamel dials, with lion sculpture on the dial, baguette diamonds on the bezel, all sorts of details. A lot of these pieces are, when they're available, still sold for $40,000 and more by Chanel. The ceramic case has always been kind of the entry level, but I think that has also crossed over to more than $30,000, if not more. Although I haven't seen them for sale quite some time in the boutique. The case has an interesting construction. If you can um, see from the profile, it actually has a ceramic mid case, so case band and the lugs. The case back and an important part of the bezel is stainless steel, but I think the bezel insert too is in ceramic as much as I could observe. The deployant clasp is made out of stainless steel. Caliber 01, which is a jump hour caliber, was designed by a team of about a half a dozen watchmakers who were joined by Romain Gaultier. And if you see kind of the constellation of the gear train, I think you can um, get an idea about what kind of touch Romain Gaultier has on this particular movement. This is a very dressy watch. You might say it's oversized. It may be just right. I think it has a very nice design when you think about it, in the sense that you have slightly off center a small subsidiary dial for the seconds, which is kind of like the beating heart. And then you have kind of like a 280-degree scale for the minutes that wraps around that subsidiary dial, which is indicated by a retrograde hand. And then you have a beautiful frame for the jump hour at around 6 o'clock from the traditional position. The fonts have been particularly designed for this watch, and I think they coordinate really nicely with the Chanel signature as well. The dial is also signed with calibre 1 heure sautante jump hour. This particular example comes with its box and papers. It is just to say a few more things about calibre 1. It is it is of course a hand wound caliber, and has with a double barrel mounted in series, a 3-day power reserve, 72 hours. I believe there have been some examples of the Monsieur de Chanel produced in 40 millimeters, but most pieces are 42, which can be great for some, quite difficult to wear and pull off for others. I belong to the latter group. This particular example is one of 55 pieces and is currently listed by a professional dealer out of Japan for the fixed price of 21,201, the ceramic version of Monsieur de Chanel. Next up, we're looking at kind of sporty expression of the Monsieur de Chanel. This is Superleggera, which has kind of a sporty racing themed look. Once again, it has that ceramic case, but a slightly different dial design that is not only um, differently decorated, but also ever so partially open worked as well, to the point that it gives you a minor glimpse into that hour wheel for the jumping hour. There are red accents on the dial, including minute 60, the tip of the seconds hand, and the Superleggera script under the Chanel signature. There's also kind of a guilloche like texture on the part of the dial that is not exposed, that is not opened or laid out for, say, the minute track or another kind of subsidiary dial. And finally, the band too is matched with the sporty vibe of this watch, and it is a hybrid strap which has, I believe, calfskin lining, but a nylon texture on the outside. So the piece, by and large, preserves the black look of the ceramic version, even as it gives a certain sporty expression to what is otherwise quite a serious piece. A watch that has a certain gravitas, um, if not necessarily a dress watch, it certainly is a watch. Monsieur Chanel is certainly is a watch that can be worn for elevated occasions. This is perhaps a little too sporty for that, but such a cool piece for the exact same reason. They have added also a nice red arrow that points directly to the jump hours, which complements all those other red accents on the dial and the general sporty vibe of the watch. Again, saying that it's a sporty watch, I don't mean to say that it is a sports watch in the way that we came to expect um, in the aftermath of the Rolex Oyster and the craze about sports watches that were carried forward, especially with the genre of dive watches. This is um, water resistant up to 30 meters, a depth rating of 3 atmos, meaning that the watch is basically splash proof, and you should probably avoid immersing it in water in any significant way. This particular version of the Monsieur de Chanel Superleggera is listed also by a professional dealer out of Japan. It has its original sleeve, but ostensibly not the original papers. I don't know what that card is for, so you should feel free to reach out to this dealer on Chrono24 and try to figure out what the package actually includes. But pricing is quite fair. Once again, this is a fixed price for $25,065. Now we are looking at perhaps the most special version in this selection and a very fascinating example. The case design and shape remains the same. We still have that ceramic case, or rather ceramic mid case with the stainless steel case back and bezel. The bezel insert is also in ceramic. The watch was first introduced, I believe, in two, 2019, 2019, as the Edition Noire. The marble edition followed in 2021. Again, it was limited to 55 pieces, 55 um, sections, 55 pieces of marble for the dial that were specially selected, each with a different texture. Of course, that is one of the beautiful and desirable things about semi precious stones or any kind of stones that are used for a watch dial. They each have their own signature, they all have their distinct pattern and veining and striations. So it's hard not to admire it in some way, unless, of course, you chance upon one you really don't like. I think this is a pretty cool one. Just a marble watch dial is not something you see every day, and it is really a nice way to break up that largely all black aesthetic of this watch, which strikes me as severe enough, right? Again, without becoming overbearing. In this case, you have the entire set of box and papers, and the watch overall is in a very good condition. In fact, it is listed as unworn by a professional dealer out of United States, right under $30,000. 29,875 is the buy it now price, but they remain open to negotiation, so feel free to submit a bid that is more within the limits of the budget you set for this watch. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for your loyal support. If you have any questions regarding these particular listings or any watch related questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me. You can always find me on Instagram at young.brando. You can send me an email as well at Lord Hellespont V. That is Lord Hellespont V at gmail.com. And of course, you can just drop me a line here on Patreon. I look forward to seeing you on the live stream tonight. If you have any questions whatsoever in between, please feel free to reach out. Peace.